Welcome, everybody. I am Marilee Burnett, your astrologer, back with the messages for the week of March 18th, 2024, which will prove to be a very active week compared to last week where I was struggling with new things to talk about. And overall, it was a pretty quiet week last week. This week will be nothing like that. So we have a lot of information to cover on each day. The week's intense because this is leading up to the full moon lunar eclipse in Libra that will happen next Monday. And in that video, I will be breaking it down per sign on what you may be able to expect. So we will dive right in. But if you want to know specifically for your chart, because of course I can only give you general information during these sessions, please book a session with me. I'll have some openings left this week, but you'll want to hurry if you want to know the full picture. And we won't just look at the full moon lunar eclipse. We'll be looking at the very, very intense new moon solar eclipse with Chiron during a Mercury retrograde. It's going to be an eclipse unlike any we've seen in a very long time. So check out the links below, look at my specials, and I welcome you coming to work with me. I love channeling your messages basically as we do the reading. So let's jump right in because we have a lot to talk about. And as usual, we'll get started with Monday. I will put timestamps on here so that you can come back and review the day-to-day. But remember, energy is very individualistic. So how you perceive it and when you perceive it is all about how you interact with the astrology energy. And if you ever really want to know that, work with the moon. Journal with it and see how soon you start feeling the influence of change. Okay, so with that, up on the screen in front of you, I've already set this to Monday, and that is March 18th. And of course, I am wearing my St. Patrick's Day outfit because I am posting this on St. Patrick's Day. So good luck to you. May you all find a pot of gold at the end of your rainbow. And if you haven't yet, make sure you go listen to the tarot messages where I pull a card for every zodiac sign, and you'll want to watch for your sun, moon, and rising. Okay, now we'll get started with Monday. So on Monday, March 18th, I have this set to a time where we notice that we have a T-square. T-square looks like a red triangle on the chart. And that means there's a lot of pressure between three different points in the sky. And that tip, I think they call this the fulcrum, is where the pressure can escape through. And that is through a very strong moon in its home sign of Cancer. Very emotional choice you need to make. In order to release this pressure, you may need to release some feelings. You may need to express your feelings. You may need to make some changes into something like family, where you normally experience a lot of security, but that's being challenged right now. So something at home needs to change. So the moon has two squares. One is to the south node in Libra, which, as I mentioned, we're going to have the full moon lunar eclipse here. The eclipse point is at 5 degrees, so it's got a pretty wide relationship to the south node. Doesn't mean it isn't going to still be impactful, but eclipses that happen really close to the nodes are more intense typically. So we'll see. The cards this week were really positive. So hopefully that bodes well for all of you as what will be leading to conclusions. But something needs to change when we have a square in this Libra portion of your chart. And Libra is justice. It is balance. It is relationships. It's contracts, right? It's marriage. So there can be news this week about a marriage maybe that is dissolving, that is important as far as the collective sees it. And then in your own life too, there may be some kind of a relationship change involving relationships with family members where maybe you've been doing too much people pleasing, things are out of balance, and it's time for you to put your foot down and talk about your needs and express those very clearly to whoever you are in a relationship with. This moon, right? I'm going to care and nurture myself and demand it from those that are in a relationship with me. So the other square, of course, is then with the North Node. But here's why Monday is so important, and this whole week. And I've been talking with all my clients and saying, journal, 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 journal this week, because it could be the slightest message that you get or thought that you want to make sure you capture, because of the fact that Mercury in Aries is, of course, conjunct the North Node. So these are fated conversations, fated places, right place, right time, like interesting synchronicities, because the North Node is our fate. And Mercury rules how we communicate, how we think, how we move. And in the sign of Aries, we're a warrior, we're a champion for ourselves, we're speaking up for ourselves. So there can be some intense conversations on Monday, but the point of the conversation is to create the change that is needed, right? You need to think for yourself. You need to speak up for yourself. You need to follow your destined path that is independent, right? So that doesn't mean you ignore the other people. That's this opposition energy down here into Libra, which is others, self versus others. Ideally, like a teeter-totter, you want to create perfect balance, right? So within my relationships, Libra, I maintain my individuality. There should not be always we as a couple, right? You have to exist outside of the couple. You have to exist outside of your friendships. You have to exist on your own. And the friendships that you have, the relationships that you have that create good balance in your life, those are the ones that you need to nurture, right? And pour more energy into. So there's some tension, some emotional tension in your relationships that you're going to see this week. But this point right here, this fated conversation, thought, information, contact, whatever happens on Monday, maybe even at late Sunday, it is going to be a big part of the story that's going to unfold for you over the next 2 months. So pay attention on Monday, because I'm saying like mind-blowing information that could come through. And don't get, I like to call it, don't be Twitter-pated by it, right? It's like this, whatever we're seeing now, we have to see it, because this is fated work that we need to do. And if we're off our path, this is step 1 to moving us back on the destined path that we are supposed to be a part of. And a lot of that means you gotta let go of what isn't working, where things are out of balance, and trust your intuition on Monday to guide you to what that is. All right. So interesting. We're going to keep talking about Mercury as we move forward too. So let's take a look and move on into Tuesday. So as we move to Tuesday, we of course see the moon is moving off. It is heading toward the last degrees of its home sign of Cancer. As it is there and before it leaves, it's going to speak in harmony with the Sun and Neptune. So we are just about at the end of this very watery, very emotional energy. And when things get to those 29 degrees, I always say this is the final lesson. You know, what have you been shining a light on with this Pisces energy while the Sun has been here for the past month? Because it's time to be in the full spotlight, right? To finish whatever this work has been for you. And of course, the moon moves about every 2.5 days. But when the moon speaks in harmony with the Sun, it's like your inside self, your emotional self, they feel in balance. You feel more whole and more complete when we have these kinds of interactions. So look to Tuesday to be a day where you can complete things. 9 energy is about completion. 2 energies are about balance. So there's something here that is really important for us to see so that we can complete it. And complete Pisces energy as tomorrow we're going to step into any tomorrow we're going to step into the energy of Aries and kick off spring in the Northern Hemisphere. So let's take a look at Wednesday where that will happen. Now, as I was working with clients this past week, it's always interesting the imagery that comes to me and the downloads that I get when I do readings. If you've worked with me, I always say I'm very much a intuitive reader. Messages come to me, your chart speaks to me, it tells me a story, and that story, the more you see it repeating in multiple ways, becomes a bigger, louder story. So what was interesting to me about the spring equinox and the themes of spring and the seeds that we plant, because normally this Aries new moon is a lot of times where we create our charts, our boards, for manifesting. We're cutting out our pictures, we're painting the life that we want to see. But I don't really encourage that at this time because this new moon that we'll have on the 8th is one where we have an eclipse involved and we have a retrograde involved. So as you get ready to set intentions, you really want to make sure you're focusing more on the things that you want to possibly let go of and the blocks that you need to remove. So as the sun enters into the sign of Aries today, and we have equal parts day and night with the spring equinox, we are wanting to plant the seeds. But my messages this week said, don't expect the things to grow out of the ground like what you thought you planted. Like, we have to be really open to unexpected experiences as a result of all of the energy and the fact that we have Mercury pre-shadow as it goes forward through this area. We are going to review it, and we're going to review the eclipse point several times, and we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. So today, and in the sign of Aries, when the sun is there, we are starting to focus even more on ourselves, right? We're shining a light on ourselves, on our independence, on our self-confidence, on our inner warrior, right? This Aries energy is all about fighting for yourself and your rights and your needs. And so we'll see those topics come up for the next month in particular. So that is the beginning of something. It's the beginning of the new astrological year, as Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. But there is much to see over the next 2 weeks before we get to the actual new moon in Aries. So if you're going to try to do some intention setting, it might be good to do it now while the sun is moving forward through Aries with Mercury also moving forward, even though it's pre-shadow. But be very flexible with the intentions that you set. But I do recommend connecting to the energy of Aries in order to align yourself and be open to the things that are about to come through for you. So how do you work with a particular energy? Aries is fire, so work with candles. You can speak your intentions into candles. You can wear the color red. You can get hot. You can eat hot and spicy foods. Mars, be a warrior, right? Be a champion for yourself. Get really active. Mars takes on challenges. So if you're the kind of person that usually waits for the invitation from somebody else, this week you want to make yourself the one that is being the yang energy, right? I am going out of my way to make things happen for myself, not relying on anybody else to make changes for me. So anything you can do to get yourself active this week will be helpful. It'll show you're aligned with Aries energy and that you want to partner with it. It's just important that we show up and join in with the energy. Now, where I have the chart today, you'll notice that that moon in Leo it's a fun, joyful, happy kind of energy when we have a moon in Leo. And it's speaking with Venus in Pisces. Now, as Venus moves through the sign of Pisces, it's energy that this planet likes, right? It's dreamy, it's loving, and it's very emotional. But there is something about our feelings, about our emotions, about our intuition, and the things that we're passionate about that may come together in a weird or strange way because this energy is in conjunct, which means it doesn't quite get along. And how it does get along is just odd and awkward. So we'll see things starting to transition. We'll see the beginning of a new season, which creates cardinal energy, which is the sun in Aries taking action. That's what cardinal signs do. But trust your gut, because the moon's also here in a fire sign on exactly what it is that you're going to take action on, because it just might not seem like something you would normally do. All right, let's move on and talk about Thursday. As we get to Thursday, a couple of things that make this day pretty powerful and intense. Number one is that the sun at 1 degree of Aries is now speaking in harmony in a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. So the Aquarius energy is your friend groups. It is a cause. It is groups of people who have power. Pluto. There can be, fear in groups of people that the sun would shine a light on. But there also can be a leader, right? Sun in Aries, that helps a group with something important, right? Now, a sextile is a little bit of a gentle energy, and sometimes you really need to tune in to notice it's even there. But because it's Pluto and the sun, I don't think it's going to be that subtle. Now, it is helpful. It is a supportive energy. And if you're feeling a lack of confidence, this would say to me that the groups that you're a part of are going to help you realize your strengths and realize that there's no reason to lack confidence. You have the skills you need to succeed at whatever you decide you want to succeed at. Pluto brings transformation. It may be the groups that you belong to that help strengthen you and help transform you into somebody who feels and acts more confidently. The other energy that's important today is Mercury. So Mercury is going to be at the eclipse point on Thursday. So this is another day where it is so important to pay attention to the conversations that happen around you, pay attention to the things that you get as email messages, advertisements. Any information that comes your way today is going to be all about your eclipse work. What's fascinating to me, and I know I can't stop talking about it, is that Mercury is going to go over the eclipse point 3 times. Plus we have the eclipse. That's 4 activations in a small period of time on whatever this eclipse is for you and in your life. So wherever you have 19 degrees of Aries energy in your chart, it's about to get a serious work out. And the other thing that is very interesting and why even Wednesday, Thursday are important to pay attention to is Chiron, our wounded healer, is going to be a big part of the story. It's going to be exactly connect the sun and the moon. This is a message all about healing. Now, Chiron as a mythological character, which a lot of course, the planets and asteroids are all about, is a centaur, right? Half man, half horse. He's unique. He is a trainer of the gods. And he is a healer. Teaches us how to almost make sacrifices so that we can heal ourselves. And as we heal ourselves, we will heal others. So there is this very important topic about understanding our health, understanding our inner wounds, but most importantly, understanding the blocks to, being healthy. There can be illnesses that are important leaders are going through at this time, where information about those are exposed. It is just going to be very intriguing. So start paying attention as you see Mercury and Chiron speaking on Wednesday and Thursday. Again, the messages that you need about the eclipse work for you will come in this week. So it's really important to pay attention, very, very close attention. The other energy that gets activated is Jupiter is finally almost all the way through its post-shadow period of its retrograde that started last year. So this is it. The work that you were meant to complete, the storyline is coming to an end. And there's this, again, this inconjunct energy, and it will be here all week long between Jupiter and the South Node. South Node is your karma, right? These are karmic relationships, karmic lessons from the past. And a relationship that you've had, for instance, depending on where you have this, like this person, if you're a Gemini rising and you have the South Node in your 5th house, which rules the romance, it also rules your children. There's something unique and interesting about the heart that comes up in a way that maybe concludes, a lesson in romance that you've needed to learn. Jupiter teaches us, is a gentle teacher, loving, benefic, kind, giving. And Taurus could be, I don't know, maybe you have some debt somebody owes you from the past, and that debt gets repaid. Just even a karmic debt if it is an actual financial debt. So this energy between Jupiter and the South Node this week is, again, one that we really want to watch. And then the good news is next week and through the eclipses, as Jupiter gets off of 15 degrees, then it's a new story and a new chapter as far as our Jupiter work goes. And Jupiter's about growth and expansion and knowledge, spirituality. So that's going to be interesting. Other thing we have going on is Venus in Pisces is meeting up with Saturn in Pisces. And this gives some structure, some boundaries. It helps hold you a bit accountable for, if you're wearing too big of rose-colored glasses about somebody, then this conjunction of energy, it has you be much more serious. Now, if it's not love, maybe it's money, maybe you do spiritual work or artistry, anything to do with Pisces energy. Saturn makes you more responsible, gives you the structure, gives you the lessons, gives you the rules. So this Venus energy just becomes much more serious when she is in connection with Saturn. So yeah, if you meet somebody today, it could be a relationship where there's going to be a serious lasting commitment, but it depends on the situation of both of your charts, because Saturn could also make you feel like you're being too restricted and not able to express your feelings and your emotions enough. So it's a complex story. It's quick. Venus moves quickly past Saturn and is thankful for that. But on this day, Venus, the ruler of this South Node in Libra and the ruler of Jupiter in Taurus, says there is something important, serious, that we are going to need to pay attention to on Thursday. I promised you it was going to be a very interesting week, and each day has not failed us yet. So now let's move on to Friday. All right. On Friday, starting with the top of the chart, you're going to notice that Mars in Aquarius is hitting that 29 degrees. That means that the 6 weeks that we have had with Mars in the sign of Aquarius, those lessons are complete, and the action that we need to take to fit in, to find our tribe, to make friends, to make a difference. This is it. This is when we need to take action. And then Mars is going to move into the sign of Pisces. So, interestingly, we have Mars at the end of Aquarius, and we still have Pluto here at the beginning. So we have a full range of energy where the sign of Aquarius is concerned. And both of these are very active energy. Mars shows you things above the surface, and Pluto shows you what's beneath. You see Venus has moved on slightly, which is helpful. And then we are still just seeing that we've got that Jupiter energy that is working in our favor with hopefully the South Node and rewarding us for the things that we have done in the past. So very much a repeat of the energy for the most part on Thursday, except that when Mars is at the 29 degrees, it's a very critical anaretic degree, and it can be a high energy day for us as well. All right, let's take a look at Saturday and the energy that's available to us here. This, as I mentioned, from Friday now, we see Mars has moved into the sign of Pisces. Now, Mars doesn't love being in this very emotional sign. It can stir our emotions up in a way that makes us uncomfortable. If you aren't a water sign, you don't necessarily find comfort when your fire energy is being dampened by all of this water. Mars can boil the ocean. It can make our tempers flare, right? So you really want to watch, right? About every 2 years, Mars comes back to a sign. And it's good to look back and say, okay, 2 years ago, 2022, how was my experience with Mars as it moved through the sign of Pisces? What was the collective experience of Mars, the warrior in a sign that rules spirituality? Is there a war on religion, for instance? So we're going to see that and those lessons over the next 6 weeks. So it's always good to be aware that you have work to do with Mars where you need to take action. And this time, because Mars is being watered down, your Mars energy may be misbehaving and acting like a spoiled child because it isn't getting its way. So we'll see how that story unfolds for us. The other thing that we're still seeing is that Saturn energy in Pisces has been making a nice sextile to Jupiter. So these two are starting to grow apart. So their support for each other begins to wane just a bit. But these are both giant planets that are far-reaching. So you still have the support of mentors and teachers as we move through this energy of these upcoming eclipses. Be tuned in and be aware, because there is important work ahead and you have guides to help you do it. So as we move into Sunday, as we end the week, I found it pretty fascinating that we are going to end it on a yod. So here we have this Jupiter energy that I've been talking about. And now it is speaking in a sextile with Venus. So you have both benefic planets speaking in harmony with one another. And together, they can bring an amazing blessing into your life, especially depending on what houses are being activated to you. So the sextile is good. And sometimes when things are too good, we can overindulge too much. This is, of course, a Sunday. So maybe you're feeling Saturday night like you want to go out and party, right? You would pay the cost on Sunday, so just be careful. Too much comfort food isn't a good thing. But it is a wonderful day on Sunday, especially as we're moving into eclipse season, to pamper yourself, to do mud masks, to do things where you're removing the toxins from your body, a good massage. Those are all good things that will be helpful to you. Now, what creates a yod? It's called many different things: a finger of God, a mission from God, whatever your beliefs are. Choose to do your work. Now, the finger points, right, or this witch's hat, and the point is where the work needs to happen. And that is this South Node in Libra. So there's very karmic energy. There is a needing to clear your karma, and it happens in a weird, strange way, right? So these two in conjunct energies, they're what come together, Jupiter and Venus, to support you and help you do the work. So you're leaning into Jupiter, which, Jupiter in Taurus is a very giving kind energy. There may be a way for you, again, settling that karmic debt or settling debt where you choose, right? That, I'm going to go pay something off today would be a good way to be in alignment with this. I'm going to pay somebody back. I'm going to pay it forward today. I am going to gift somebody something beautiful. I'm going to gift somebody words of love, right? Venus in Pisces is very loving energy. You could decide that you're going to paint today. You could be outdoors because Taurus energy is earth energy and outdoors. Water energy with Venus, again, is, pampering yourself with a vacation by the water, right? There's just whatever brings you joy. You need to focus on that type of energy on Sunday. And then whatever you're hanging on to from the past, whatever storyline keeps repeating for you over and over and over again, this is a day where you need to just dig in and ask, what do I need to do to be released from this karmic debt that I am carrying? And that karmic debt that you're carrying is all about whatever house you have Libra in the South Node transiting at this time. So you're given a mission, you're given an assignment on Sunday, and it's brief, and maybe it's just an assignment to enjoy life and not take things so seriously, to pamper yourself, like I said, and not keep giving too much away to the other people in your lives. You need to restore the balance some way, somehow. So that is the biggest energy on Sunday that, again, will kind of carry us into the conclusion that will happen with the full moon in Libra that happens the very next day. So it's fated work. The nodes are fate. The South Node is the karma we came into this lifetime with. It is our past. It's the things that we're really good at in the past. So you're a great partner. But in your past life, you were terrible at taking care of yourself. And that's where the North Node is. And that's where our lessons are. So it's time to learn how to take care and to honor and be a champion for yourself. And this week, we're going to see that. We're also going to see that Mercury will start to slow down a bit its pace as it gets ready to go retrograde, which will be April 1st, and then the eclipse on the 8th. So next week, another power-packed week. I will end up doing a little mini reading to say what you might be expecting as a result of this full moon lunar eclipse. What are you going to bring to fullness? What will you bring to conclusion? What goal can you expect to achieve? And if you want to know before that, go check out my articles for March and April that are on my website, and go out and check out the full moon lunar eclipse article and the new moon solar eclipse article. Now is the time to prepare for both. And I give you a breakdown by sign so that you can get at least a general idea. Of course, to know specifically, you want to book a session with me. And I do have reduced cost, short sessions where we can focus in on just the eclipses and not, go delving into your full chart. If you don't know your chart, those can be a bit of a challenge, but I would be happy to do that if that's what fits in your budget and give you as much information as I can in that shortened session to help you prepare. Here's the thing about eclipses. If you don't do the work, by the time the eclipse shows up, you get a big, swift kick in the butt, and you will be directed heavily to do the work that you signed up to do, right? This is your fate. But if you've been doing the work, right, then you're seeing the rewards of the work during the eclipse. But for most of us, we've got some things that we got to let go, right? An eclipse blocks things, removes things that are holding us back. So over these next several weeks, we are going to see what that is. And if you try to hang on to something that is not meant for you, you will just make it much, much harder on yourself. And you don't want to do that. It just is miserable. So trust your gut, trust the universe, and trust those kind of thoughts and ideas that keep popping up for you. There's just a lot to see over the next few weeks, and that's why I recommend the journaling to help kind of keep track of it all. So let me know in the comments below how it's going. Are you already experiencing eclipse things or people suddenly leaving that are a big surprise to you, or what are you going through? And I always love to send a comment and some support back. So let me know how I can help. And I hope you have an amazing week. Go, like I said, and check out the tarot card readings too to get an idea. And most of the messages, I would say all of them actually were really good. So I'm kind of impressed and very hopeful that means it's a good week for all of us. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you all and your time, and I will talk with you next week. Take care.